Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Juliana if you've never been here before, and I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited that you guys are here as well. Don't forget to smash the like button, I think it is over here, and don't forget to hit subscribe. I post new videos every week. They come out on Sundays mostly, but occasionally on Fridays. This past week it came out on Monday, but that was because of like the Ruby on Rails problem, so don't get too mad at me for that. Okay, so let's move on to the content we're going to be talking about today. So today we're going to be talking about deploying to Heroku, as well as styling the web page to be more intricate. It's basically going to look similar to my current homepage, which is julianahill.me. If you visit that, we're going to basically dupe that, but with whatever name that your name is. And then after that, we're probably only going to do it for Python, Java, and Node.js. The other two, I'm probably gonna have to post a separate video for those, just due to the fact that like my laptop is just not, it's not complying. So let's move on to what we're actually going to be doing today. One other note, I lost my glasses, so I'm ordering a new pair, so hopefully they'll be here sometime next week, or this coming up week, but right now I'm kind of spectacleless until then. Alright, so today we're going to be basically just doing like a normal web programming project where we're going to deploy something to the basically visible for the public to see. You will need a Heroku account as well as some kind of terminal and all three platforms installed. So the three platforms that you need installed are Python 3, Node.js, and Java. We're going to be doing a more intricate web page first, and then we're going to deploy our intricate web page to each of those platforms on 3 different Heroku instances. I think they give you up to 5 free ones. They might have lowered it to 3 free ones, which I guess is advantageous for us since that's all we need right now. So let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to open up the public directory within the basic monolith directory, and then I'm going to open up the index.html file. And then I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to copy it and paste the path from VS Code. There's like a menu item when you right click on it that says copy path. And then I'm going to head over to the browser and paste it into the browser. And then I'm also going to head over to julianahill.me so that way I can show you what it is that we're going to be doing today. And then I'm basically just going to be referencing that the julianahill.me, the rest of the video, to gather like the colors, the appropriate colors. I'm also going to copy and paste over some styles just because like this is a long video already. So just copying and pasting and then explaining will help you understand it a little bit better. So you'll see that I'm hovering over 2 of the head links. These 2 links tell your browser to use the appropriate favicon to pull it into your browser, so that way we have the favicon showing up on the tab, as well as the title showing like first and last name. Now I'm going to start styling the header in the middle. The one on my website, like my personal website, is an image, but we can easily like create it using CSS, and I'll show you how to do that. But I'm mostly going to be copying and pasting over the header content, which I can explain in comments what each section does. So I decided to split this up into 3 layers. There's going to be like a header layer, and then there's going to be an aside, and then there's going to be an unordered list, and the unordered list is going to contain the title and then the subtitle content. To position all of the content, we're going to use this thing called Flexbox and Flex, and how we use it is we have to tell our DOM elements, our HTML elements, to use display flex, and then from there we just use the properties align items, align content, and justify content, and we're gonna tell them all to be centered, and then we're also gonna text align everything to center. After that, we're going to check the size of the image, and when I use the DevTools and use the little square with the arrow at the top left of the DevTools, it can, and I hover over an element, it can tell me like the size of it, and this one, the image is 300 pixels by 300 pixels, and then I also am dragging the page to see if it has any responsive qualities, and it doesn't have anything other than the width defined as a percentage. I also used the eyedropper to grab the color from the image, but I think it showed up a little bit lighter than what is actually the true color of the image, so later on in the video I kind of like dim it down. After I copy over the styles, I condense the styles down. You can do this thing where you can list out every element, class, or element class, or like specified ID in order, like in the same style, kind of how I have it listed in the styles.css in the repository. I have the header, the body, and the aside, well, the circle class, they all need to be like display flex centered, the text centered, and all of the content centered. Now I'm struggling to decide on a font size as well as like a font, just because the one in my image is a custom font, and I would have to like import that in the as a link referenced to a CDN, and to pull it in. So I'm just going to use like a default one that kind of looks similar-ish, or gives it kind of like a similar feel. And this is where I decide to like do like a quick Google search to see if there are any other like default font families that I can use in order to style it a little bit more fun. The other thing that I decided to do during this whole segment is to kind of split up my content in the most inner circle as an unordered list with two list items. One is the title, and the other one is called subtitle. When splitting it up, the UL, the unordered list items, into the two list items, you have to make sure that when you are creating your unordered list, you have to define some CSS styles, so that way like it's plain, and because out of the box it has some margins and padding, and it also has a list style attached to it by default, so you kind of have to overwrite those properties. There are a couple of font properties that are kind of interesting to use. A lot of people don't really like to use them too much unless you're like super into web development and web design. One of them is font weight, which kind of tells the browser how bold or like fine the text should appear. I chose like the finest one, which is 100, just because the scripty one in the image is kind of like faint, but like lighter and thinner, but you can choose whatever you want. I was just trying to make it look similar to it. The other one that's interesting is called letter spacing. I couldn't quite remember what it was called. I thought it was font spacing, but I had to Google search it to make sure what it was, and I found it. As you can tell, like I go back and forth to check between my my personal website and the one that I'm currently working on. to figure out like if it looks similar or not, like if it's like kind of exact or not. Obviously, it's not going to be exact because the one that's on my personal page is an image, and the one that we are working on right here is completely done via CSS through the browser and is rendered completely through the browser. The cool thing about doing it this way as opposed to rendering an image is that the browser doesn't have to make a giant like network request to like pull this image from some kind of like image bucket or like your server. It doesn't have to like attack your server to like pull down this image and basically write all the bytes to your browser to render to your screen, which is kind of taxing and takes a while for your RAM to pick up and place onto your page to be visible. So it's much easier to do CSS rendering just because it's already built into the browser's like rendering cycles. That's why people like using like SVGs and vectors because those vectored images, because it's just a file with text as opposed to like having to convert an image to like bytes and then having to compress into like a bitmap or something along those lines, and then having to compress that bitmap so that way it can go like through a gzip compression and then be uncompressed, and then it's just super inefficient compared to just rendering text, if that makes sense. Now that we have the finished product, I'm just going to copy and paste the styles over into the style CSS so that way our HTML isn't like weighed down by a ton of CSS. Alright, I'm going to walk you through signing up for Heroku really quick. It's just going to take like 2 minutes. So you just navigate to the Heroku website and click on sign up, and then you just fill out the form. I'm obviously gonna hide my passwords and my email account from you guys. So I wait until they send me an email, and then I go over to the email and open it up, and then they give you a link to click on to activate your account. So you click on the link, and then it'll direct you to the page to set your password, and then I set my password to something super secret. And then we're on our way to create our first app. I've opened up the Python directory and the basic monolith. I've copied over the public directory contents within the basic monolith directory into the Python directory. You have to do a git. So there's like instructions in the server.py file that I've written out that you need to do when you're inside of the Python directory to deploy your Heroku app to a Heroku, or your Python app to a Heroku instance. You just follow those steps. Obviously, you have to install Heroku. It's super easy. I had to do it a roundabout way though, because you have to use sudo in order to like install it like directly onto your machine. The roundabout way is to use npm and install it that way, and then use your bash to export the env variable. But that's more of like an advanced thing to learn. You don't have to know what that means, but that's the way that I had to do it. But yeah, just follow the directions and you'll see that the app is running. Now I'm going to create a Node.js project in Heroku, and now I'm going to copy and paste all of the instructions over from the server.py file because they're pretty much the same. I just have to remove a couple of lines. I also made a mistake. I kind of forgot to, after I copied and pasted over the public directory from the basic monolith into the Node.js, I forgot to put the new route to that directory in the server or the server.js file. So, so there was an error the first time I ran it, but after I realized that was the issue, I went in and fixed it and then pushed it, and you'll see that everything will be working. It just took me a second to get everything pushed up, and everything like typed out correctly. Trying to think if there's anything tricky about this one. I don't think so. You just have to remember to copy over the public directory, and then everything should be working fine. The Java one is pretty easy too. You just have to go basically follow the same instruction set as the Node.js instruction set for deploying. I think the only difference is that we had to downgrade the version of Java in the POM file, and I didn't realize we had to do that. So there's like some errors that pop up during this installation and deployment. I also forgot to copy over the new files from the new public directory over into the meta resources folder within the Java project. Everything basically works out fine. It's just I forgot to do some things that I wasn't quite aware that I needed to do. Alright, that concludes my content on deploying a Java, Node, and Python app to Heroku. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and send me an email to hello@pumpkinspicelatte.org. Thank you guys for watching, and ciao!